Today's episode of Northern Lights is presented by North Star Law Group, your trusted partner in Minnesota's burgeoning legal cannabis industry. Whether you're just starting out or looking to expand, attorney Jen Riza and her team will help you understand the latest developments, scope out risks, and find a compliant path forward in this rapidly changing field. Visit northstarlaw.com and let North Star Law Group guide you through the legal landscape with confidence.
Hello. And we are back. Episode 14 of Northern Lights. Welcome. I'm here with my host today, John.
And Steve.
Hey, what's up, John? Yeah, this is Steve Eigenman with Canna Connect. Happy to be on the Minnesota Cannabis College podcast.
Yeah,
No, it's nice to be here with you. I missed the last one.
Yeah, well, thank you guys both for coming out here. We're here today at the Dabbler Depot studio. Dabbler Depot, as I'm sure our listeners and watchers know, is an award-winning dispensary and also liquor store throughout the Twin Cities. Definitely encourage people to come check it out. You can come watch us record like we are right now. But guys, it's a really big day today.
It is.
It's the last podcast of the year.
Wow. Already.
I know. And if you're one of the people that watches this or listens to this on the exact day that it comes out, it is also Christmas. So happy holidays, guys.
Happy holidays.
Wow, a Christmas episode from Northern Lights. Like, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Absolutely.
Exactly what I asked for.
Well, guys, we actually got some pretty breaking news here coming across the wire.
Is there a new OCM director?
No, not yet. New medical? No.
Anything new?
Well, there is something pretty new. Guys, we have a new flag here in Minnesota, and it was actually sent here directly by the committee. So some people might not even have had a chance to see this yet. Should we go ahead and show everyone?
Let's unveil it, yeah.
Bum, bum, bum. The brand new flag of the state of Minnesota. It is beautiful. We have the chevron, it is called, that dark blue area that represents, obviously, the state of Minnesota. We have the beautiful blue waters that are the same colors and reflect the sky as is known here in Minnesota. And then, of course, that 8-pointed star that we've got right over on the side there. So what a beautiful banner. Happy to be here.
I love it. It really captures the spirit of the state.
And what a way to wrap out the year. It's been a big year.
Yeah, it's been the biggest year in Minnesota cannabis history.
Yeah. I think that is a statement that nobody can disagree with. Looking at where we were a year ago compared to where we are today, it's been an incredible difference. And what I'm excited today is we're really going to dig in, talk about what some of the big changes were, sort of recap some of those cool things from the year. We've got some great interviews coming later. People will have to listen to figure out who that is. But if they're going to be recapping the year, talking a little bit about some of the great events, perhaps a pretty cool cup. We'll come back to that, though. First, I want to talk about some of the big events from this year. And, I mean, there's only one place to start. Did you guys know that cannabis was legalized in Minnesota this year?
Wow. Were we the 23rd state?
We were, absolutely. August 1st, now, a few months ago, cannabis became legal in Minnesota.
John, what did you have to do with that?
I was actually lucky enough to be a paid lobbyist this year during that process. And it was interesting because I don't know if you guys know this, but at first we had one bill, completely different bills ready to go. And within 2-3 weeks of the legislature, they got rid of it and they started from scratch. And they built up a whole new bill, bringing people together. And now we got what we got, but we've yet to see it. But it was crazy knowing that it was the way they were talking about it was like, we're doing it now. It wasn't like, this is something that could be done. So that's how it always was. So seeing it being like, we're doing this now, like running against the clock to legalize it was just a whole different feeling.
Oh, yeah. I remember being out there at like 2 a.m., 1 a.m., right when that bill passed in the Senate. And it was really coming down to like the final days of the session of, are they going to be able to fit it in? There's really a lot of people that are doing a lot of talking, but they did it.
Some holdouts come right at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I really wondered about that. Like, when each legislator was able to speak their piece, like, and they sort of did it in seniority order, but being like a a single issue voter. Like, it's not like I was up to date with like how committee hearings and how that end of the legislature process worked. Like, I was just like, how long is this going to go? How many more people are going to speak and say their piece? And it's like, they were really just airing their grievances a lot. I mean, the ones on the right, at least, like, I don't know. You guys were there a lot more than I was, but it was kind of annoying.
That's what they use the time for. It is their time to add genuine input, but I would say Lindsay Port took a lot of time off the floor to meet with her Republican colleagues this year. Like, it was once a week, she would block off time to talk about cannabis with Republicans.
Okay.
Like, that specifically was what she was doing. And I think what you saw a lot of time was the whining and moaning. But behind the scenes, there was actual input from both sides. And that's why I think we have a bill that no one is against. People voted against it clearly, but since it's been passed, no one has come out against this bill.
That's good. That's good. My first time seeing John Barty was on YouTube, like legislative hearings. Like, I didn't know who you were until I started seeing you testifying at the conference committees.
I was watching that whole thing from someone who is, like you said, a single issue voter, so interested in it, but not like they're there. Like, how was watching it become legal, watching the process go?
Yeah, well, I want to say I really started tuning in when Jesse showed up to St. Paul, and we saw clips of it. It made the news, and I was like, this is powerful. More people need to see this. I'm going to rip it off YouTube and share it on my Instagram channel. And I took that approach, and I applied it to more than just Jesse Ventura. I applied it to you. I applied it to Marcus. I applied it to people that were providing really interesting perspectives in favor of legalization. Obviously, that was going to benefit me more than the sheriffs and the families that were, arguing against legalization. So I shared that through Canna Connect. I started tuning in. I would watch it live. I would follow up. I'd go on Twitter. I thought it was really interesting. Some of it got repetitive. Hashtag Glenn McElfresh. But like, it was interesting. And at the end of the day, it was transparent as up until like maybe to the end.
Conference committee.
Conference committee.
They lock themselves in their little cave and make the real decision.
Oh yeah, watch how that the sausage is made, if you will.
Right. And Tanner, you were down there pretty regularly as well. Like, how was this whole process for you running the cannabis college, but then also trying to make sure that the cannabis college is viable?
Absolutely. So our organization goes back a few years, back to House File 600, the draft that was before the draft and before the draft. And a big part about that bill was really this inclusion of social equity as a mission. And we really connected with that as an organization and really sort of latched on to saying we want to make sure that this component of the bill succeeds. And there were some times when, the grant funding that they built in to help businesses succeed wasn't looking like it was a surefire thing. Or there were times when, the micro businesses advantages that are built in really weren't as great for business owners. So I think it was really cool watching it evolve and progress with the background of going a couple of years ago and looking at how our bill drafts were looking to how they ended up on that final session. Do you guys know what bill was debated right before the Senate passed this bill? It's a really nerdy government question, but it's the bill to get a new state flag here in the it was the local government funding bill, and that included the doesn't matter. But what's really been amazing to see the change here in Minnesota, and it's crazy to think that all happened just this year.
It still doesn't feel like it's been like 9 months really since the session started, because it feels like we've been in this quasi-legal period for 5 years is how it feels. But
yeah, it was less than a year ago that most of us heard of House File 100. And now here we are today with legal adult use cannabis because of that exact bill. So it's been pretty cool to watch it. We've been fighting for this for many years, and then very quickly, all of it sort of came to fruition.
And as this year comes to a close, what are you guys looking like most forward to in cannabis here in Minnesota?
Yeah. Wow. I mean,
Resin, live resin.
That's the answer.
yeah, that's the true answer. I mean, really, I think it's what aren't you looking forward to? If you're someone who wants to learn how to grow, wants to really explore more on that side, like in a legal adult use market, it's just going to grow your ability to do that. No pun intended. You know, if you're someone who wants to be a consumer and not a grower, the adult use market is going to allow you to do that. And if you're someone who wants to buy only chocolate edible products that are 5 milligrams each, or only, you know, beverages that are like, we'll be able to do that. So I think just the freeing of this market that has existed here for decades, but now being able to open a store and say, what do you want to buy?
What do you want?
But John, let's be clear. Do you really think adult use cannabis is coming online in 2024?
Well, I know it's not.
Yeah.
In fact, I know as a fact it's not. But I think one thing Tanner said about the home grow, like that home grow and the hemp market, the way we did it here in Minnesota is so unique. It's like from day one, you could go get seeds, grow your plants. Like day one, you could go somewhere and buy cannabis.
For sure.
So I'm just like, I know it won't be what we want it to be. I mean, what we'll have more so in 2025. But I feel like just like, I'm just excited to see how Minnesota keeps doing it our own way.
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, I'm looking forward to our classes in 2024. We've already planned out most of the beginning of 2024. I mean, there's still room if you're a business and you're interested in getting involved with the Cannabis College class, like reach out. But we're like going to drive as close to the law, the legal limits as it comes with home grow. You know, whether that's 2 ounces to an event or 8 grams leaving an event, like we want to push the limits with cannabis at home consumption and cannabis at home cultivation. And that's why I'm here with you guys, because I really like the direction you've taken with everything.
I mean, I'm excited for this next year. Like you said, with those classes, with everything that's rolling, I think more people are going to come into cannabis with the bright eyes. And we need so much more bright eyes. So many of us are getting weighed down by the whole thing. And I think seeing people who are fresh and excited, I don't know, it lifts my heart up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you say that. And
the classes bring those people. Yeah.
Right. We just have to keep finding more and more people, because, I mean, as we saw with the Legacy Cup, there's like 10, 15,000 people that are willing to come out to an event.
You know. Oh, and that actually transitions so nicely, because, you know, it was cool seeing legalization come online, but if like they change the law and you got to just stay in your house and now it's legal, like for a lot of Minnesotans, that doesn't really change much. We were buying cannabis before, we were using cannabis before, but being able to get together in a large group like we did at the Legacy Cup, I mean, that's something that was brand new here in Minnesota. I mean, that was one of those days that, at least for me, was pretty cool, being able to walk around and consume cannabis with so many people. What was that like for you guys?
I showed up at like 2 p.m. that day. I'm going to be honest. Like, I was there the night before. I knew there was carnage, and I didn't have a booth. So I was like, I'm going to take my time. This event's going to go all day. I got there. It was bright sun shining all day long. But, you know, so I had a privileged approach to it, right? But the music was great. Slug was there. The awards contest is always my favorite part. And then just like bopping around and seeing booths, like, granted, those vendors were tired. Like, those vendors had a lot of work in the morning to put themselves in a position to be successful that day. But
I was gonna say, I left a little early to fall asleep because we got there at 8 a.m. Everything had blown down, massive thunderstorm the night before, and it was like, okay, what now? Like, you go get tents, you get tables, get more marketing material, get products, and set up our tent. And then I helped, the Cannabis College tent as well.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, I felt like it was going to work out in the morning because I saw how hard everyone was working, but I did not expect just a flawless event like the way it went. Like, no one could tell what people were dealing with
Amazing.
hours before. Yeah, it was like, holy shit, we really can do this at every step of the way.
Oh, yeah. It was such a fun day. And if people want to hear a little bit more about sort of the background behind it, what sort of went into it, you mentioned that crazy storm. If people want to hear what those 24 hours was like, listen to our interview segment. But Steve, I wanted to ask you about some other stuff that happened this year, because you mentioned some of the classes, you've mentioned some of the events that were held generally, but a big event series that really began this year, it feels like an institution in Minnesota, is the Canna Connect Minnesota series.
Right.
So tell me a little bit more about Canna Connect MN. I missed the first one, but I haven't missed a single one since. Sort of what led up to the creation of that, and tell me a bit more about it.
Sure. Yeah, I created Canna Connect as a way to bring Minnesotans together over cannabis. I feel like the timing of the pandemic led to significant cracks in our local industry, like the CBD, cannabis, CBD being deemed non-essential. Like there were folks that we didn't see for like 2 years, 3 years in between. And so towards the end of last year, I was, attending some of these happy hour events and feeling like we could bring more people together. And so Canna Connect it's like less than a year old. I think I pitched the idea about a year ago, created the branding in January, and worked to promote it like February and March. So the first Canna Connect was April 1st. It snowed 8 inches that day. April Fool's snowstorm.
Yep.
I mean, I was worried people wouldn't show up to the event, but the vendors showed up, the consumers showed up. We had like 160 people at the first one. We had 300 people at the second one, and we've grown in different ways since then. Obviously, since the second one, we've done a lot of events together, and I'm excited to share like Canna Connect 4 will be coming back April 6th of 2024. So we'll be back in about 4 months, ready for another 3-4 months of innovation, I would say.
Very cool.
Nice.
Are you breaking that here on the podcast? Is this news?
This is breaking news.
Canna Connect 4, April 6th
Wow.
at the Wilderness.
Heard it here first.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear it here again, most likely.
Oh, yeah.
Keep telling you till you show up.
It's going to be a fun time. Trust us. So, Steve, we asked you this question on the last podcast that you were on as like an actual guest. People should go back and listen to that one. You can't watch it. We were just audio then, but now people can see you.
Yeah.
And we wanted to ask you, as we're coming into the end part of the year, it's now a couple months later, what are some of the big events that stand out from this year? Or what are some of those moments from events that you've talked about that really sort of stand out?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, my favorite events were the ones where I was able to like genuinely talk to people, meet new people, and like I've made friends through Canna Connect. Like it's really cool. So I was thinking about that question, and it's like I think that's the best part. Is like I could name them, but I mean that's not what we're here to do. Like it's a when you come to Canna Connect, you're gonna find the ability to meet people. If you sign up for a panel or if you go to a vendor booth, like you'll find like-minded people around you, and that's what we've also worked to do with the grow classes. Is like bring people together, try to create an environment where people can feel comfortable, relaxed, and meet new people. So honestly, I think like some of the fun extracurricular parts after the events, like that's when we've been able to meet people and build relationships, as well as during the events. Like can't speak from like the attendee perspective, but I know there's been a ton of connections made, and that really makes me happy, regardless of which class it was.
See, and this is why Canna Connect is like such a perfect name for you, because you literally have had events where you had Jesse Ventura on panels. You've had events where people brought rosin presses together and just were pressing flower for hours on end. You've had events where people were cutting clones and throwing them in a trash can on the way out. And like the thing that stands out to you is the connections. And that's, I think, the essence of what Canna Connect is. So that's really cool.
For sure. Thank you.
You threw an awesome little costume party also.
Yeah. Shout out to Stores and Bickle. We were giving away hardware at that one. So,
So John, you actually were part of the last Canna Connect, and I was also part of the last Canna Connect. But I had a question for you about a panel that you were on. People should go check it out. But about that panel, Ryan Winkler was on it, and he was, the architect, said slightly tongue in cheek of the House file bill that made its way across. What was that like to be on a panel with Ryan Winkler himself?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Steve for inviting me on that panel and you for hosting it. It was super fun.
that was a carrot. I didn't see Tanner.
Yeah.
Whoever that.
The only panel at Canna Connect hosted by an actual piece of produce.
It was fun to see where his head was at, like, and also see like we're all changing, we're all growing. Ryan Winkler, a man who was conservative-ish about weed, is now a cannabis entrepreneur. Like, that was my biggest takeaway. It was like, this is, like, anyone can get folded into cannabis, because once you see, like, how good it can be for anyone, like, because there's so many, cannabis is not like one thing. There's so many boxes you can fit in. It was really cool seeing, like, how he's progressed in that over these last few years, and also, like, how, like, the people in the crowd, the attendees, how, like, attentive they were. Like, every time I looked across, I was like, holy shit, everyone's actually listening.
Yeah.
Like, that's rare. It was like a good sized theater. I was like, okay, people are actually listening to these things. And I think those events are really getting people excited. They're bringing in so many people from the outside. So getting to be on, part of the panel is really sweet.
You know, I'm friends with Dylan Deerking, who works for Twin Cities Startup Week. And I work at a co-working space in Minneapolis that's full of startups. And it's no surprise that you say that, because cannabis is the fastest growing industry in Minnesota, and it is the fastest growing startup industry in Minnesota. And so it's, Ryan Winkler aside, it's like there's a ton of attention and focus around cannabis right now. And you hear about Minnesota all over the news now, at least on LinkedIn. Like, my LinkedIn is just full of beverage. You know, it's interesting. But I think Ryan Winkler is a good example of what any other Minnesotan could progress into. You may have had misconceptions around cannabis or weed, but it is so nuanced now. Like, you can't just treat it like flower or brickweed. You can find something for you, intoxicating or not. And Minnesota is the best place in the Midwest to find that out.
I'll tell a story about my mom. I don't know if she'll like it, but August 1st, she went from completely hating cannabis to, oh, there's a bunch of products I see out there, and, like, looking at stuff. And now she likes the teas, she likes the gummies, and it's like, that's because, like, that's what she needs in cannabis. Like, that's all. Sure. It's out there for everybody.
Yeah, and it can be approachable if it's at the co-op, at the grocery store, here, there, everywhere, online. Like, you love it. You know, you want to see regulation, but you love the access.
And we're still the only state that's selling THC products outside of dispensaries. Like, for, I think, us and maybe the Dakotas, where it's, like, outside of, like, you can get it in a grocery store. Like, you can't get cannabis drinks.
Connecticut, Total Wines.
Total Wines?
Okay. Total Wine, as of, like, today in Connecticut, is now carrying beverages. Yeah.
Go Connecticut. That is actually, well, now we are one of two great states.
Just you know,
shows how it's growing.
You're the Minnesota Cannabis College. I'm just trying to keep you up to date.
But these drinks are growing. This whole thing is growing, and it's sweet that it's being incubated right here.
Definitely.
So I think one thing that I really wanted to cover in this episode, and we're going to dig to it more at the end when we bring the entire board on, we're able to really review this year. But I wanted to sort of take you guys through some of the things that we as a college have done this year. We had a slideshow put up at our party that we had on December 3rd, some pictures from throughout the year, and it really got me thinking, you know, all of the things that I'm about to list were just in 2023. Are you guys ready to hear?
Mm-hmm. Let's go.
All right. So even before the bill passed, we were having pretty regular legislative deep dives. We partnered with local organizations. You know, Grounded Gardens is one that I think of. Minnesota is Ready is another. Really bringing people together from the industry and consumers and saying what things need to change about the bill. Because we had hundreds of people come out and share their opinions, become part of the industry by really coming and sharing and making connections. I mean, Bob and Aaron from CannaJoy, I met there when they were just exploring how to start up their seed bank. You know, so many people that I continue to work with in the industry come from some of those early connections, even before legalization. So I just wanted to take a minute to shout out those. They were really fun, but they were also super productive, being able to see people's ideas go into actual changes in the bill. And I hope that even more of those changes are adopted in this coming legislative session. But we kept moving on. And then in April this year, in fact, April 12th to be exact, we published our first book. It was focused on that retail training side, looking on the hemp edible market, which was legal even before adult use made its way across the finish line. And we had a book that came out about that.
That's the blue one, right?
No, Steve, actually, it's this one. It's the white covered one. What's really cool about this one is it really covers that entire side of the retail market. So what are the laws? What are the science? And how do you actually sell cannabis edibles to someone? It's a fun product. People should definitely go and check it out.
I love this one because, first of all, I love the artwork on the front. Shows you all sections of the little cannabis store.
Done by local Minnesota artist Melanie Shibley. Pretty fun time.
Cool.
So people should check that out. But you mentioned the blue book.
So that the blue one came out April 12th.
So the blue book actually came out in July. So what was cool about the blue book is we wanted to celebrate American freedom. You know, our bill had just passed. It hadn't yet gone into effect, but we were still celebrating freedom. So on the 4th of July, out came our blue book. Now, this one has become an instant classic. We've sold more than 600 copies just in the past couple of months. You can buy them at stores all over the Twin Cities, but I'd probably send you most to Dabbler Depot.
Could you say what the blue one is?
Oh, I'd be happy to. So let's say you're someone who says, hey, cannabis is now newly legal. I can grow it in my home. I can't yet buy it, so that's my best hope of getting cannabis. How do I do that? Well, this book will walk you through it. Everything from what equipment do you need to buy to how do you start your seeds. I mean, it's really a great time. It's no hands-on instruction. We definitely encourage people to do that if you're a new beginner. But if you're looking for just a quick how-to, I mean, for $5, it's a no-brainer. So
Wow.
that also came out this year. But we didn't stop.
No, can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. Minnesota Cannabis College, stop. So we also launched a podcast. Did you know that?
Northern Lights?
Do our
that where we
listeners or our watchers know? Yeah, Northern Lights. Guys, it might feel like it's been going on for years, but it actually just came out for the first time in June of this year. Also before legalization. But really we were able to report on what some of those early days of that transition over were. We had a special that came out that really talked about why did we legalize it here in Minnesota. That came out on the 1st. Really, it's been
Was it one episode out before legalization? Or was it two?
No, so we had a couple out.
A couple, okay.
Yeah, we had a couple sort of interviewing. You know, Mason is an early one that I go back to, listen often. We had Canna Joy on in the early days. We really had some great, really more of our friends in the industry that we've known for a while come and talk to us about what were they looking forward to, but also just sharing in the excitement of, wow, cannabis is soon going to be legal.
That is awesome. You know, as we pack out that 2024 calendar, we got to make a 1-year anniversary episode.
Oh, yeah.
Make it big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've had more than 3,000 people go and watch or listen to our episodes since then. So really shout out. Thank you to all of you for going and doing that. But can't stop, won't stop, Minnesota Cannabis College. Stop. We kept doing more stuff. And July 31st, so hours before legalization, Steve, you and I, we had our first grow class.
Yeah,
really,
at the Wilderness. It was great.
It was incredible. And it was just a few hours before what we have today really went into effect. People were able to come together, celebrate legalization. I don't think I'm putting anyone on blast when I say, like, we smoked a joint out back afterwards and really thought to ourselves, like, wow, this is our last time illegally and vibing as a community. And I think it's cool to take that moment and say we haven't done it illegally since then.
Yeah. I remember that morning, August 1st, I was walking to my car and I saw a guy spark up his blunt at the bus stop, and I was like, "This is legal." I just threw my hands up and clapped for him because, it was that exciting.
Yeah.
I specifically remember Clem's big old truck and him just loading the plants back into the truck on July 31st. Like that's just ingrained in my mind.
Yep. I will not forget that. But we kept doing more stuff. We kept moving on. August 5th, we had our first summer school event. We had more than 100 people come out, learn about starting up a cannabis business. It was the early days, so we really were just sharing sort of what did that bill say, what can you be doing now to prepare, and what might some of those jobs look like. But, that was a great time. Steve, you actually came out to that one.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You guys got me a ticket, and I came and had a great time. The Betsy Moram's presentation stands out to me, as well as just the overall just learning atmosphere at Theodore Wirth Park. And I'm excited to help you guys plan the next summer school.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. We're looking forward to that one. But another event that I wanted to highlight that was also really, really fun, Minneapolis Cider Co. We held an event there covering what people need to know to be able to remain compliant here in the industry. Because now if you want to sell cannabis products, you have to register. But that wasn't always the case. And we got people together, really highlighted what do you have to do. In fact, the Department of Health came out.
And we live streamed it.
Yeah.
You can still listen to it on YouTube.
Yeah. In fact, if you're watching this on the Minnesota Cannabis College YouTube page, you can just go check out our videos and just go watch it. And I would recommend people do.
This was a really fun one because the guy from Department of Health stayed and just answered questions. And I feel like showing people that we can give them access is only going to make these events more fun and more inviting.
Yeah. Well, we weren't able to show it on camera, but he stuck around for like a half an hour afterwards, just chatting with people, answering questions, and really being available. So, I mean, it was really a cool time.
Yeah, shout out to Chris Elverum. He was a solid appearance by the MDH.
Yeah, absolutely agree. But, you know, I've got really one more event specifically that I want to talk about today. And that was one that we held just a couple weeks ago. If you watched our last episode, you heard us review it. But we threw what I think is perhaps one of the coolest class party combinations that I've ever been to. If you guys are interested in rosin or processing, well, you could come to our class. You could learn about how to do it from really some incredible pressers. I mean, like, the people that we had out there are not just people that I know that do rosin, but, I mean, some of the best in the entire state, if not some of the best in the Midwest.
For sure. Yeah, I don't want to oogle over it too much because we definitely talked about it last episode, but for a guy who knows classes and a guy who knows parties, like, I respect your opinion on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and at that party, we did something pretty cool. We had a piñata. No. What I wanted to talk about here, the piñata was great. But the reason that I wanted to bring that up is because at that event, we were able to release not our first book of the year, not our second book of the year, but book number 3 of the year.
The green one.
The green one. And this one we love. It's beautiful in color throughout. And the photos that come from it really have that expertise built into it because they're not all our photos. We really turn to the people in the industry. Minnesota Solvent List, John, I mean, is a rock star. And you can go learn from that knowledge, go and check it out. And I mean, each of these books just has so much knowledge built into them, knowledge packed in. And that's all just what we did since April.
I'll give you one nugget on the green book because I think the story's worth telling. It's a testament to what we're doing, what we're working on together is this book and this event came together through Clean Green Media and the Minnesota Cannabis College. And it was, like Tanner said last episode, it was like, hey, can we get Casey? Hey, can we get Stefan? Hey, can we get John? And it's like, through being in the industry, I either know those people or have friends of friends that know those people. And by putting you in touch with John, that led to a good hour-long conversation with you and John just going back and forth, and you probably just geeking out over his experience and knowledge. And like more than that, his willingness to share with you
Absolutely.
And pass that on, that led to a book being created. That led to access in the community. And that can't be taken for granted. Like, it takes a good, active, like, working for the right reasons community to create innovation.
Yeah.
And I think we really are connecting the dots through the work that we're doing.
Yeah. I think what we've seen is basically any organization can partner with someone out west and say, hey, we offer cannabis classes. But what's really cool about ours is it's really taking people in Minnesota, elevating that knowledge up and saying, this is something that's really truly Minnesota built and Minnesota grown.
Yeah, shout out to John and MN Solventless and everybody who came to that presentation left with a lot more knowledge than they walked in with.
Yeah. So let's move on to that. So I want to do some shout outs as we're sort of wrapping up our bit. We've got an interview that people can check out. We're going to sample some products at the end of this and just sort of wrap out the year. Thank you guys so much and chatting more about that. But let's do some shout outs to people that have really excelled this year, people that have really grown and expanded. Some of the people that when we think like, wow, they just got started this year, or wow, where were they at the beginning of this year? Who really stands out to you as someone who like has that shout out?
I would say for me, I'm going to go Senator Lindsey Port.
Okay.
Came from very little knowledge of cannabis to leading this bill in the Senate and looking to continue being a force for good in cannabis in the legislature next year. So just, yeah, I actually worked very closely with her campaign when she was running. And, like, she wasn't, like, a cannabis legislator. But, once the call came, she did her best to make sure that she was prepared to write that bill. And I appreciate that.
Very cool. Steve, what about you?
I'm going to go with Matt Robidoux. So no one knew who Matt Robidoux was until he met Jesse Ventura at Canna Connect 2. And he's a former Marine. He's a U of M student. He's been a grower for the last 4 years. He's got a ton of experience, and he just had a quick escalation into the community because of he has merit, right? He has the background to be a leader in this industry. And he's gone on to teach one of our classes with Bovida and Brian Rice from Bovida. And I'm really happy for Matt. I'm proud of him. He just had a baby with his wife. He's like everything you want to see in the future of cannabis, especially as a student, right? So he's a veteran. He's going to school for cannabis at the U of M, and he has plans to, be a part of this industry. And I look forward to working with him more because he's a good guy.
Very cool.
Those are the people we need.
Yeah.
Cannabis people are everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you?
Speaking of veterans, Tanner.
Yeah, so I really got to give a shout out to a buddy of ours, someone who really has had what I would describe as like an atmospheric, a meteoric rise in this year, and that's our buddy Stoned American. Now, I think back to earlier this year when I first started hearing about this Facebook group that had set up, Minnesota Cannabis Events. Pretty plain-sounding name, pretty straightforward. You go there, you learn about events going on. And very quickly that went from, hey, have you guys heard about this Facebook group? To like, wow, this is where you go to find out about events. And it went from, hey, Stoned American, like, that's sort of a funny name. Like, I remember when he first signed up for his one of our grow classes, and I saw that email come across, and I'm like, oh, all right, that's pretty funny. And now, I mean, going from, hey, I like Storks and Bickle products to, at MJ BizCon, he was invited to the Storks and Bickle influencer brunch and got to go and like smoke cannabis, or probably vaporize cannabis, with the president of Storks and Bickle. And like thinking about how it was just earlier this year that he was really beginning this Facebook group, and now he's smoking with the top tier.
He DM'd me on Twitter asking if he could get a ticket to Canna Connect 2. And his profile picture is like him as like a teenager or like in his 20s. And so when he introduced himself to me at Canna Connect 2, all I had was like his Twitter profile image. It just threw me for a loop. But really great dude, has volunteered, has lent weed, has just allowed for people to consume cannabis responsibly. And I really appreciate the work he's done. And I love that he's like at MJ Biz, like with Adam Pac-Man Jones and the CEO of Stores and Bickle, just enjoying the sweet life.
Oh yeah.
I was at an event with him, I think, a week or so ago, and he was playing a great game called Guess That Strain, just little jars of home grow. He'd be like, okay, what strain is this? Just passing them around to everybody. And I was like, people he doesn't even know. I was like, this guy's just getting the room together.
Yeah, he's like a practicing Buddhist. He's a very nice guy.
He's a super cool guy.
Yeah, so really just some great people in the industry overall. Absolutely agree with you guys and your shout outs as well. Well, we'll be back in just a couple minutes with a really awesome interview. Should we go ahead and say who it is now? I guess we can out it.
How about you say the first name, John says the hyphenated, and then I'll say the...
Okay. So we've got our buddy from Legacy Cannabis and Legacy Glassworks, Mr. Josh
Wilken-Simon.
Definitely encourage people to go check that out. Perfect. Awesome. Well, we'll be back here in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned and stay online.
That. Now we'll keep going. Now she's kind of melted a little bit. Oh, yeah. It looks like hash rosin, dude.
It does.
Have you been thinking about growing cannabis, but don't know where to start? On January 15th, 2024, join the Minnesota Cannabis College and a team of expert breeders for a 90-minute session at the Wilderness. During our captivating presentation inside the theater space, you'll learn from industry professionals with valuable business and cultivation experience, all in an intimate setting so you can have all of your questions answered. Our evening begins by connecting with fellow classmates in the Wilderness Speakeasy and continues until 9 p.m. with networking opportunities in the lounge. Plus, our class is capped at 42 students, so you'll want to secure your spot and be sure to sign up today. Purchase your tickets now at mncannabiscollege.org/start before we're filled up. So what are you waiting for? Sign up now and get started growing this January 15th. mncannabiscollege.org/start.
Awesome. And we're back. We're sitting here today with Josh Wilken-Simon of Legacy. Josh, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So having you out here is sort of strange today because you're not someone that's at all new to the industry. I mean, anyone that's been involved in cannabis going back to before legalization knows of Legacy. So tell me a little bit sort of about the man behind the business himself. What was it that brought you to starting Legacy more than a decade ago now?
Yeah. So I really got into this industry while I was going to school at Hamlin. And my older cousin is a really talented glass blower, specializing in pipes. And, I would go watch him blow glass, just fascinating art form. And I started by just actually taking his pipes, kind of doing hand-to-hand at music festivals. Cool. Originally started, not as a business, but pay for the good time at a festival. Mm-hmm. But it sounds corny, but it was like spreading happiness, going to people, showing them a good local pipe made by my cousin. And so that's when I got into it originally, and then opened up Duluth in 2010. And basically just, from there, it's been a whirlwind.
Absolutely. I can imagine. We've all sort of had that experience of buying, a cool, heady piece in the parking lot of a concert or festival. And you definitely get that same vibe walking into Legacy of this is not just, something that was made by some machine and shipped over, but really this is handmade pieces of art. And it's really an amazing experience walking into Legacy.
Thank you. Yeah. Later on, I actually learned that the start of glass pipes was actually artists, following around the Grateful Dead on tour. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't realize it, but, my start being the same type of thing, like at music festivals, was actually how glass pipes started originally. So that was really cool when I found that out, like, oh, all right.
Yeah, you're following in the steps of Snodgrass.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Artists like that. That's very, very cool. Very neat.
So I'm going to bring it forward to this year during the session. I know you were down there during the long days and nights while the legislative process was working through. And I guess the question is, what was the process itself like when the bill finally made its way across the finish line at 1 a.m. in the Senate?
Yeah, it was the whole session was a wild ride. So to back up just a hair, actually, when I was going to school at Hamlin, I was studying political science, urban studies. Before I started Legacy, I actually had taken a semester off and worked for the first Obama campaign and the Al Franken campaign. Yeah. And so I've always been super into politics, and kind of funny, I would say, my passions are pipes and politics. And most people would be like, well, those definitely don't go together. So then after all these years, I've worked on various campaigns and nonprofits and stuff like that. So then all these years, finally the two passions actually collided with HF 100 and legalization. And so I was like, this is just, meant to be, meant to be. So I, of course, like many of us, took this session very, very seriously. And, knowing that with the DFL trifecta that we could have our voices actually heard and really influence the legislation to be a better bill. And I think, if a lot of us weren't there, we would have a legalization law that does not look, like it does. So those last couple weeks of session, it was like everything you had worked for and, all the promises that had been made and, are these, are they still going to happen? Are they going to make it in the bill? Are they going to be out? What's going to happen, during conference committee? And then, I had never thought that it was for sure going to be a done deal last year. You heard rumors about, just would take one senator not to be there. You heard rumors about senators holding out for certain things.
Well, that last day.
till that last day. And then, in general for me, it was like, we still, if you were a DFLer that just got the trifecta and you have this whole laundry list of stuff you want to get done, of course, including legalization, but it wasn't at the top of the list, would they punt that saying, oh, we could do that, we'll still have a majority, trifecta next session, could it happen next session? So worried that time was going to run out and people weren't going to agree. But yeah, just seeing that thing actually happen. And, I started working on some legalization stuff back medical days and making phone calls to, different patients to call their representatives. And then, of course, people that, were working on legalization, in this state before I was even born. So to see that all come to fruition, just amazing.
Yeah, the signing room, I remember you were there. It was such a cool collective of everyone who had been doing this for like 50 years.
Yep. I had to throw up the little fist bump.
I love it. So it feels like such a short period of time now, but there was this period of time between when the bill passed and when cannabis wasn't like yet legal. That didn't actually happen until August 1st. And on August 1st, you threw like an amazing party. At First Avenue, we all came out. There were some incredible artists. People probably saw or heard Ilhan Omar played on stage with Marijuana Death Squad. Like, really a fun time. And really the most incredible part for me was coming to Minneapolis and seeing people like ripping dabs in the street of Minneapolis with cops making sure like no one under 21 is going near there. Yeah. Like in total sincerity, like how did you do that? Like how did you throw what really was the first legalization party merely hours after it happened?
That was a tough one. So the biggest hurdle was, to actually close down a road. You need in Minneapolis, you need over a minimum of a month to just like get all the pieces, together, and they actually say that's a requirement. Like, don't even try to close a road unless you have 30 days. And I think the governor signed the bill like maybe like 33 days or something from August 1st. So it was something that I really wanted to do because we were able to pass such a strong bill that didn't outlaw public consumption. Granted, some cities have taken other like approaches. Yeah. But, you even look at kind of mature rec states, and a lot of those places, something like the First Avenue Day or the Cup isn't even able to, legally happen now, even in a mature like rec state. So that was one of the things that, I was most proud of the bill, that we were able to have the consumption like aspect of it. And so, when the talk of the event, being held at First Ave, for me, it was always like, that's awesome. But like, if we're celebrating on Legalization Day, like there has to be a place, for consumption. And of course, Clean Indoor Air Act, we're not going to be consuming, legally inside of First Ave. So for me, that was just like absolutely critical, was closing the street. The city of Minneapolis actually was a pleasure to work with. Mayor Fry is, a big supporter of legalization. And I kind of originally made the ask kind of the backwards of the process. Like I went right to his office knowing, how big of a supporter. And so they pushed it from the top down. And so we even had folks, that are part of the regulatory, wheel for these type of events tell me like, I don't think there's enough time, but, they're telling us to like do it. I'm like, all right,
very cool.
So yeah, and then the main thing was like, how do we make sure that this is a safe environment, for everybody? And it definitely went down to the wire. There was a time, which I didn't know was part of the process, but I was on a Zoom and like I was basically in the hot seat, and there was like over 30 different people from, all the different agencies within the city, Metro Transit, Parks Board, Minneapolis Police, all this, and they were just like all firing questions at me at the same time, specifically about like the consumption side of things. And, luckily I was prepared and kind of ready for all the answers, but I even got the question like, so are people going to be able to buy like weed at the event? It's like, no. And is that like a trap or?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was just so amazing, like day one of legalization, seeing that sign that said like marijuana consumption area, cannabis consumption area, like day one of legalization, like in Minnesota. And there it is. Like it was really an amazing event.
Yeah. And what I wanted to do is like, I was really inspired, when Prince had passed away, and it was kind of a natural thing where all of a sudden they, had shut down First Ave and, everyone playing instruments. And like, that's although that one obviously being a sad case, but that's something that will go down in the history of Minnesota. So like I wasn't interested in an event that was like, oh, that was cool, you know, some music and speakers. Like I want this to be part of Minnesota's history, and I want people to be, you know, look back and just like what a perfect backdrop, you know, with First Ave being so legendary and Target Center and all that, and beautiful evening. And
Well, mission accomplished.
thank you.
I think it's the only time I've smoked a joint and talked to the state auditor within 5 minutes.
And of course, you know, it wasn't just me. There's, you know, a bunch of people that were all working for, you know, and support of all the different cannabis businesses, and just like people having faith in me, you know, to be able to do something like this, and you know, trust and kind of put whatever support they can behind it.
So now I want to ask about what you did a few months after that, the fourth Legacy Cup. You had over 10,000 people show up, 130 vendors at Surly's Festival Field. How did you pull it off, and what was it like leading up to that event after August 1st?
Yeah, definitely, you know, the craziest couple of months of my life for sure. And, you know, knowing we had done the event, you know, in the past, but knowing that like we have to scale it up, you know, with the monumental shift in state law. So definitely a lot of pressure because, you know, everybody had come and had a good time at the event. And I think everybody was, you know, expecting like, let's see, you know, how they do and go to the big leagues. So I had never, you know, had any, besides the cup side stuff, like any experience like throwing a large scale like event like this. So, you know, definitely had to try to pull in as many possible people that, you know, could take on, you know, a very specific lane in the event. It was crazy though. It's honestly, I still feel like I have a little PTSD from the cup and the whole thing. But yeah, just amazing to see, of course, you know, Minnesota turn out and just really enjoy the event. And, you know, it's one of those that like all the different like hurdles along the way really didn't kind of like show in the final event, which, you know, of course was a worry. And so, yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of, you know, work until 3 a.m, sleeping for a couple hours, getting back at it, and you know, just trying to work through the teams and work through all the partners, and, you know, whirlwind though, for sure.
For sure. So I want to talk about like one specific aspect of the event, because you talked about how people showed up and they don't really know any of that stuff that happens behind the scenes that was insane. And I think the biggest one was the storm that happened the night before. You know, we were out at the event that was happening inside, came out to, you know, a decent little bit of rain. All of a sudden it started coming down more. All of a sudden we're like, all right, we should probably hold on to this tent. Started seeing others flying through. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I don't know how we're going to recover from this. And then the next morning having people come and have no idea that any of that happened, because we did. There were new tents that were brought in. People were applying stickers day of. People just, they made it happen, as we always do. But I am curious, as sort of the rain was coming down, as the tents were flying through the air, as they were hitting the side of the stage and getting embedded into that, what was going through your head at the time?
Yeah, I guess it was just, you know, how can we make sure that we can still pull this off tomorrow? Because, like, you know, I had definitely had folks reaching out like, oh, we should probably just like reschedule it to next weekend. And it's like, that it's just literally not a possibility.
Yeah,
like, that's like there's no way that could happen. But to kind of like throw that back like a hair, the weather's always been kind of funny with the cup, because like originally when I like started, you know, my hope was to be able to do, you know, looking way forward into a, you know, post-rec, post-legal, post-licensed landscape, to be able to have it kind of be on that harvest festival side of things too, where people could have like a full outdoor like grow and try to time it, you know, where they'd be able to have their flower cured and be able to have a brand new, you know, product. So I wanted to go always want to go as late as possible into the year for that reason. But then of course with consumption outside. And so, you know, the cup in the past has, you know, been in October, it's been in November, and like we've had, you know, late October days that were 75, like 80 degrees unheard of for the cup, which was awesome. Last year in November, it was a real cold one. Oh, yeah. And so I was like trying to find this like perfect time. And so like, you know, where we landed in September. So I try not to be the guy that looks at the forecasts, because it's like, it's never going to be what it is. But of course I had to like from like 3 weeks out when there's no way that it was going to be accurate. I was just like constantly looking at what the weather was going to be. And the problems with the weather actually even started before the night before, because it stormed crazy, like actually the previous evening. And it unfortunately had to change the entire basically map that we had been working on. The morning before the Cup, they came to bring the stage, and they actually got stuck bringing the stage to like the original location, which wasn't where it ended up. And so we had to like completely audible where the stage was, and then that shifted just like the entire like map. But yeah, when tents were flying through the air, it was definitely, how do we make sure people are safe? Of course, like we've seen the videos of people like hanging on and actually like flying with the tents. And so like I was telling people like, please don't like hang on and like don't get struck by lightning, and we'll deal with, whatever happens. But then I did kind of just like have the foreshadowing as, we're a cannabis community, love, peace, all of that like type of thing. But I can't wait to see how people rally the next day, and people helping each other out, and, the show must go on, like this is going to happen. And then, kind of the hope being like, well, okay, the general public coming to the Cup, like they had to have seen there was a crazy storm. So if they come in and there's, piles of mud and people still setting up, and, it's going to be is what it is type of situation.
Well, it was truly incredible. I mean, I had people, like I said before, that came and had no idea that it was a huge storm the night before, because, like you said, the community made it happen, and it was an amazing event.
Thank you.
It really was. That morning, I went there. Everyone was getting ready. And I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, oh, it's such a, like, everything's a mess. Everyone's tents are everywhere. Like, it's like even Surly's tent is gone. And she gets there, and she's like, I thought you said it was like a mess. I'm like, yeah, it was a few hours ago. Yeah. But take us to that day. Like, you see people are getting their stuff together. The weather clears up. It ends up being fantastic. The music's going. The vendors are going. People are doing their consumption outside. Like, what was the day like for you, and what were some of your highlights?
Yeah. I definitely think the highlight would be, it's one of those things that for so many years, we've had to consume our cannabis, in our garages, behind the building, and kind of being in the shadows. And that's why I think the, consumption side of things is so important. And I mean, if you can do the comparison to alcohol, like, yeah, of course people drink alcohol at home, but there's a reason they go to a bar, and then just basically that social aspect of it. So the highlight for sure was, especially with my passion for, the locally made pipes and the art behind it. And so people to be able to, bring all their pipes, in, and then be able to just actually, legally, openly share cannabis together. That was definitely a highlight. That day, kind of running around with my head cut off trying to solve the problems. But in general, it was, pretty flawless throughout the day. The music was really cool. It was really cool to talk with Slug from Atmosphere. And, I had asked him, like, hey, this is my first time at, like, a large scale, like, be honest. And he's like, oh, I'm always, like, honest. And he's like, actually, one of my favorite things is to, like, tell festival organizers, like, how bad it is and, like, how many things they, like, messed up on. He's like, oh, what I got for you so far is that the base keeps having a car alarm in the parking lot go off, and it's pretty annoying. I was like, that's it? Like, so far, I'll let you know. So that was cool to hear.
That's really cool.
I always used to go to Soundset and, all of those, and inspired by that aspect of it. But yeah, again, just also seeing people kind of just like so happy out there, and, people that I hadn't met coming up and thanking me for putting on the event and everything like that. It was just amazing.
Very cool. Nice. So one question that I have, the event itself is a super fun time, but I love really focusing on like the Cup aspect of it. Like it's brands coming together. I remember going to that second Cup way back in the day, and it feeling very much like, a bunch of friends getting together, sort of trying out each other's products and inviting people in to try them as well. And this year it was much more of like, wow, there's so many brands that I just have not heard of before. And this is so cool seeing how our industry has developed. I wanted to ask you, so this was the first year with that legal home grow category. Yep. You really expanded the number of categories this year. Are there any new categories that stand out to you? Any stories of business owners that you wanted to highlight or talk about?
Yeah, I mean, Even while we were working through the legislature, I hadn't even thought really about the kind of homegrown, weed and like hash aspect of the cup. And that one actually, like, it was someone on my team's, like idea, and I was like, oh my god, like, thank you. Like, I don't know how that hadn't like crossed my mind yet, because obviously that's going to be, for me at least, the most fun category. So that was really cool, and on that homegrown side of things. Just so cool for people to be able to like, show what they've actually grown themselves and how proud, especially, how new the homegrown side being. So that was definitely a highlight. I like to call it kind of like the friendly competition to cannabis. And like, I think it's just amazing to be able to, see what's in the marketplace and see kind of the innovative stuff people are doing. And, so I guess I don't have any specific story on that, but
no worries. I just love the cup so much because it's cool walking around the event and trying out people's products that they have, but then also going home and like looking up the list of winners online, and then having like a whole new list of products to either try or to say, hey, that was really good. I should go get some more of that.
Right. And I can't wait, as we're actually able to start doing licensing in the state, to really be able to expand the categories too, in what dispensaries are carrying and all that. But also still always, I never want to get rid of that homegrown category, because I think that's going to always be such an awesome piece of Minnesota, especially since we have, the year plus where homegrown is really the only option. Mm-hmm. So I always want to keep those categories.
So coming up on this next year here, I heard you recently opened up a cannabis exclusive shop in Duluth, and you have a new shop coming in Woodbury. What are you looking forward to this year, and what should our listeners look out like coming from Legacy?
For sure. Everybody's been like, oh, so you're all, got some vacation and rest and everything after the cup. And we're like, no, from the frying pan and the fire over here. So I originally opened Duluth in 2010 downtown. And, Duluth has been absolutely amazing. I would not have been able to open up a shop in Minneapolis and not be able to do cup and cool stuff like that if Duluth for so many years wasn't so supportive. But the kind of downtown area had just, run its course on me. So 2 weeks ago on a Thursday night, turned off the open sign for the last time at that location, which was pretty surreal. And it was, like, checking in kind of with my current like employees. It's like, so, in 2010 when I opened this, like, how old were you? And like, oh, I was like 7. I was like 9. I'm like, Jesus, I am like getting old. All right. But yeah, basically, we're in the new Lincoln Park Craft District, which is kind of like anchored by Bent Paddle. And when I first moved up to Duluth, it was just, not even a thing. Kind of a lot of dive bars and, just not a part of town that I would picture my business. Mm-hmm. And when I first was looking in 2009, kind of throughout all the locations in Duluth to open, there's a really cool snowboard shop in this area, Damage. And so I introduced myself to the owner and, told him what I was planning to do. And, he's like, oh, this is the perfect place. You got to be down here. And I was too nice to say it to him directly, but I look outside and I'm like, why would I, is this guy crazy? Why would I ever have a business here? And now I'm literally next door. And he's like, why didn't you listen to me in 2009? Like, I know, you're right. So yeah, we're super excited to be down there. So up there in Duluth, kind of rebranding as Legacy Cannabis, and still, huge aspect being, which will always be, all the local pipes. So that's still, a massive part. But kind of getting it prepared for, the transition to a full dispensary, and just, the big kind of refresh, and then doubling down on, a huge selection of seeds. We have a grow store as part of the shop. So we're basically going to do everything but actual like dirt and soil, and really kind of just start slow on the grow side of things and talk to the people that are growing, around the area, and, what do you need? What do you want? What would be helpful? Bunch of, cold beverages, a bunch of edibles, and then just kind of laying the groundwork. So yeah, super exciting in Duluth. This last summer, we threw, a very small event, but to get something started in Duluth, and collaborated with Bent Paddle, who's kind of our new neighbors. And I think they've been really doing a great job, not only, of course, in the beer space, but in the cannabis space, and being very respectful and, reaching out to myself, reaching out to other people in the industry, like, hey, not trying to, step on toes, not trying to take things over, advice here and there. And I think they've been just awesome. So we started Northern Haze, so Legacy and Bent Paddle, started small last June, and no consumption because it was still in June at that point. So just kind of the, different vendor booths and live music and, a get together in Duluth, and look forward to doing that again this year, hopefully sometime in June, and where we'll be able to add the consumption aspect of it. And then that's an event that I would like to take out to Bayfront Festival Park. Have you guys ever been out there before?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the best outdoor music venue, and probably even in the Midwest. Have you been?
No.
So you have it's right basically at the water, and you have the lift bridge as like the background. You have Lake Superior right there. There's a built-in stage. Oftentimes people will bring like their boat, like not want to pay for the ticket, so they'll bring their like boats in, and you can like watch from like the side. And we would always go out there over the years, blow glass and do the vending out there. And so I've got to see Willie Nelson out there, Trampled by Turtles, Atmosphere, Bob Dylan, just so many cool like acts there. So hopefully that's something in a post-licensing landscape where we can do that cannabis event organizer license, that we can have, another large-scale event, cup, but without the competition side of things, in Bayfront. So that's exciting. And then, next up is Woodbury for me. So excited to, never really had a suburbs vibe. So excited to see what the suburbs have to offer. And that'll, again, be a Legacy Cannabis. And it'll be sometime, early next year. We're in the kind of general construction phase of that. And, I hope to be able to secure licensing in a mezzo business landscape and be able to have the 3 dispensaries, which is the max of a mezzo. And so that'd be my Duluth, my Minneapolis, and then Woodbury. Cool. So just kind of laying the groundwork. So
that's awesome.
Well,
sounds like you have a lot coming up in the next year. For people looking to follow along or just sort of check in on what Legacy is doing, where do you recommend to send them?
Yeah, probably most active on Instagram at Legacy Glassworks. Website just legacyglassworks.com. The new Duluth shop, we're at legacycannabismn.com and legacycannabismn on Instagram. So.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming out today. Definitely recommend people go check out the shops, go walk around, look at the amazing glass, enjoy the studio aspect, and buy some cannabis products while you're there.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
and just, to throw back to you guys, thank you. Of course, saw you both down at the legislature doing all the great work. Thank you for, it took all of us putting our all into it. And then podcast is amazing. Like, really, really appreciate you, bringing this aspect to the Minnesota cannabis community, and keep up the hard work. And I would love to be back for a nice long talk.
Oh, yeah. We will absolutely have you back. That's for sure.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you so much, Josh.
Are you looking to unlock the potential of cannabis processing in Minnesota? Say hello to Processing Cannabis at Home in Minnesota, a beginner's guide. Your comprehensive and easy to understand roadmap for safe and legal home processing of cannabis. Learn everything from basic information on science behind cannabis through intricate details about cannabinoids and terpenes, all the way to step-by-step instructions and practical advice from seasoned professionals. Take advantage of unique features like advanced technique highlights and real-world case studies, plus a hearty dose of friendly education from your team at the Minnesota Cannabis College and Minnesota Solventless. Unlock an unprecedented understanding of this intriguing realm with one powerful guide. It's a must-have for anyone looking to get into cannabis processing. Get yours now on our website and join us as we explore every nook and cranny of this fascinating plant. mncannabiscollege.org/shop to get your copy today. Again, that's mncannabiscollege.org/shop. Hey there, everyone. Tanner here. We ran into some slight audio technical difficulties on our next segment, but we really think it's worth listening to. So we're still going to share it out. Just wanted to give you that quick heads up before we jump in. Thanks for your patience, especially as we come into the end part of this year. Once again, Happy New Year's. Alrighty, and we're back. Well, guys, we're here today with the entire board of the Cannabis Council.
This is the first.
I feel like we're hardly ever all together.
Yeah.
Let alone all on camera together.
Absolutely. All together here because we're here to wish everyone a happy holidays and a happy end of their year and a happy start to their new year. Really, it was incredible being able to see how much we were able to get done this year. And we wanted to sort of bring everyone together and help celebrate some of our friends. But first off, should we try some products before we jump into the year?
Let's do that.
All right. So we had a couple of friends that brought some products in for us to try. I also have some products that I brought from my home garden. I'll be doing some sampling of today. But let's start with the man, the myth, the legend himself. That is Legacy Glassworks. Now, Legacy Glassworks and Legacy Cannabis came up with this super cool new product. It's the Campin Kiwi Gummies. We'll go ahead and hold these up here.
Cute packaging.
Oh yeah, very cute packaging. So these, as you can see, are the Kiwi flavored gummies. So they're 5 milligrams each, 10 pieces. Let's go ahead and pass them out here.
Yeah, let's kind of talk about that too, because we had talked about on the last episode for beginners to gummies, someone who's maybe switching from flour. What do you guys suggest for someone who's not used to gummies?
Go slow.
Start low. I always say take one, wait 15, 20. If that's not where you want to be, take another, wait 15, 20. Just slow your roll. Do not eat more than you need.
You can always take more. You can't take less.
Amen.
And these statements are not approved by the FDA, but these gummies are delicious. Let's give them a try.
Eat at your own risk.
Wow, that is flavor.
I love the flavor.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And they're organic.
You get that kiwi like right away. That's
Yeah, it's
really
strong.
good.
That's good. You don't get a lot of kiwi flavored stuff, but this one, it just fits right through.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marcus, you're someone that isn't generally a sweets kind of person.
No, I actually am.
On this podcast, you
I'm an animal person.
So tell us a little more. What do you think of these guys?
I think that is delicious. I mean, the kiwi flavor is there, and I like it. I don't love gummies, but I like that.
Yeah, this would be one that I definitely, for a beginner, would try.
Yeah, if you like gummies that don't taste like weed and taste nice, I think you'd like these.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. There are definitely some gummies on the market that we say have like an herbally taste to it. You can definitely tell that
Some people are a fan of that.
Absolutely.
For those who are, this is probably not as much for you. It's going to be very fruity.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of you that aren't, this is definitely for you.
Yes.
Tutti fruity, kiwi booty.
Oh,
I love it.
is that a slogan for your next product?
Yeah.
But it's coming soon to Minnesota Cannabis College merch. So.
And speaking of merch, make sure you support. Go to our shop.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you go to our website right now, you can find a place to get those shirts. They're pretty great. We've got some pretty cool merch coming out this coming year, so be on the lookout for that. Well, guys, that was good. I like that one, but we're not done. Should we try another product?
Let's
do it.
So, you guys probably have heard of someone named Anthony Newby before, the man behind Cultivated CBD. We had him into the studio, and we're going to be now trying some of his products. And the guys actually just came out with a brand new one. So we're trying 2 new products today. And this one is the Lemon Lime Afterglow.
Gee whiz.
Wow.
Like that.
Beautiful, shiny packaging. I love that. So it's hemp-derived, naturally flavored, and made with real fruit. So we'll be trying this out. This can is 10 milligrams. I know.
So it's Anthony. He's an amazing person.
Yeah, definitely.
Shout out Anthony.
So you guys actually have a cold one right behind those cans there, hidden. You guys can crack that open. We'll give it a try here. Marcus, I'll be your bartender for tonight.
Oh, wow. My favorite bartender.
Who's on the can there, Shayna? You check who's on the can there?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Chris Holly.
Okay. I can't see.
Hi. Wow. Well, sounds
Cheers,
like
salute
give it up.
to a great year.
To a great year.
It was a great year.
Cheers down there. We go. Bluetooth cheers.
Okay. I like that. Very refreshing.
Wow. All right, so I've not tried this one before. I've tried the cranberry lemonade one. That one is super good.
This
So,
reminds me of summer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, 100% agree.
Yes.
Knew I was in mind for something good, but that's really good.
So I'm going to read out who this guy is.
Yes, please do.
It says, welcome to Chris Hockey's Lemon Lime Afterglow THC-infused sparkling beverage. This drink was inspired by the countless hours I've spent on stage and the rest I need after. Refresh with this carefully formulated beverage made with all-natural plant extracts and water-soluble THC. I've created Lemon Lime Afterglow as a labor of love. Afterglow. I hope you enjoy the experience as much as I do. So this is a collab with Plus One Entertainment's Chris Hockey. And yeah, these are so good.
So I like how they identify just, the plant derived and things. So there's a market for people who are really like health conscious and looking for something like that. But I like the flavor a lot.
Something to unwind that's not a beer.
Yeah.
Sodas are greater than seltzers.
Why do you say that?
Just the flavor is better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a seltzer. I mean, I will drink one, but I prefer soda over seltzer.
Seltzers can be a little too carbonated sometimes.
Seltzers are kind of square. I like checkers.
Well, this is definitely a good one. Another one we'd encourage people to go and check out. Lemon Lime Afterglow from Cultivated CBD. Go and check out.
What flavor?
Well, guys, I got one more thing for us to try.
The fun just
keeps coming. Now,
It's the holiday.
Yeah, it's the holiday time. And I actually, guys, I have a little bit of a gift for you guys.
Oh, I love
So we've been working together for a while. Let's see, I got it set right over there.
Holy smokes.
And I just thought, it's the holiday time. Now is when you're making things for your friends, you're gifting things out. And guys, if you go and check out our green book, we've got some recipes in there. Teach people how to make a tomato sauce. We teach people how to make, a hot dish. You can have actual Minnesota food infused with some cannabis. But we also have a recipe dedicated to Brownie Mary herself.
Brownie Mary keeps coming out.
Keith,
We need a picture of her somewhere. Yeah, we need a T-shirt or something.
at this point we do. And friends, it is holiday time. People who are watching this live, it's Christmas, maybe with your families, and you need some festive edibles in your life. So friends, I made us all brownies. We don't have to try it here on the show because I want to be honest, this is a little bit stronger than what you can get in a store.
Well, yeah, thank you, Scott Campin.
But this is something for you guys to take home.
You see the twinkle in his eye, you know how strong.
And as the phrase used to go when I used to pick up edibles way back in the day, eat half. Start there. So we'll be handing these out to you guys.
That advice.
Thank you, Tanner. Oh, did you eat one on one of the other episodes?
No, I made it back in the Prohibition years when I first started experimenting the edibles.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I actually, so these are for you guys to take home, but I wanted us to try something here in studio. And we've got a lot of friends that are growers. I think of people like Dr. Clement Dabney. I think of people like Aaron and Bob from Canajoy MN. I think of people like Stefan from Cornell Urban Agriculture. And I'm not saying that all those people gave me a little bit of their home grow. So I wouldn't want to put them on blast, right? But what I'm really excited today is to bring some rosin that I made from some flower that I'm calling Getting High with a little help from my friends. So in our Minnesota Cannabis College,
All about the branding.
Oh yeah, we've got some rosin. So this is Minnesota grown, Minnesota pressed, following the instructions in our grow book. You guys can give that a smell. You can pass it around if you like. So again, some growers here in Minnesota, a little bit of home grow coming together, making a flavor profile that is truly Minnesota.
Oh, that's fun.
Well, I think we need to go to the college concentrate product.
Yeah, it's definitely on the horizon for sure. But guys, should we heat up the Puffco and give us a little sample as we finish out our year here?
Yes.
So we've got a couple more things to wrap up we've got some big things coming into the year. So I'm going to hand this to you. I'll keep doing some chatting.
Yes, the giggles over here.
And my these great drinks.
Drinks and giggles.
Right.
And it's really important.
And then he pulled out the brownies.
What's so amazing is this is the things that we were doing at parties years ago, but now we can do on a podcast. That's it. And just inhale. Well, so we've got some classes coming up in the new year. We talked about this in the last episode, but I really encourage people to go check those out. If you go to mncannabiscollege.org/classes, we'll have more information. We really have that first one coming up, first part of the year, early January. We encourage you to go get your tickets now. If you're in outer Minnesota, maybe thinking you don't want to make the drive into the cities, we get it. We've got a live stream. So go check that out on our website as well, mncannabiscollege.org/classes. We've also got some business classes coming up, and I don't want to spoil anything. But we've got some business classes in the house, you can say.
Yeah.
So you'll a couple weeks here.
Jeez Louise.
We've got some big guests coming up in the new year. It's 2024, and we're going to talk to people from all over the industry, but also some people who might be a little bit industry adjacent, people that are connected to cannabis in ways that might be a bit different than some of our previous guests, but still incredible. We've got some amazing collaborations with places like Dabbler Depot, but also other places here in the Twin Cities and throughout the state of Minnesota. So we really encourage people to be on the lookout for that. And really, what we have coming up in the next year is just more growing plants, but also just more growing as an organization and growing in our ability to serve Minnesotans on what they're really looking for, which is education about cannabis. So thank you guys so much for being part of our 2023. It was an amazing year. We've got a full spread of stuff to help us celebrate because it's truly the holiday times. Guys, I got a question for you.
I got a question for you.
Can you pass that over here? No, I'm just kidding. What's your question?
How do you work this?
How do you work it? Oh, that's a good question. So we're not sponsored by them, so I don't want to say the brand of this product, but if you go check out this Peak of sorts, and you press that front button twice. 1, 2.
Twice.
You'll feel it vibrate, and then when it vibrates again, that is when it is at temperature for you to be inhaling some of those wonderful terpenes and trichomes, all that good stuff made by local Minnesotans.
It takes about 20 seconds to heat, and it stays heated for like 20 seconds.
Thanks.
So what's your question for real?
And then you can hold it upright. Oh, yeah. What's my question for real?
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, it was a big year. And I think, Shannon, one of the things that you point to most often is the importance of goal setting. Really looking forward to the year and saying, what is it you want to get done? And guys, it's so cliche. But what are your resolutions for the year? What do you hope to get done in 2024? We've got so much opportunity ahead of us. What do you hope to be saying come a year from now when we're reviewing 2024?
Well, I'm working on a business plan for a micro enterprise.
Good for you.
Tomorrow I'm starting a 70-day discipline and focus challenge where I'll be fasting from cannabis for several months.
Wow, breaking news here on the podcast. Marcus Harkis himself abstaining from cannabis consumption in 2024.
It's going to be tough.
This is one day at a time. It takes 21 days to form a habit, so.
Some people say 60.
Don't listen to those
See which
people.
one you're on.
And we would joke, as we all know, cannabis is not an addictive substance. So if you want to stop.
Yeah.
I'm not stopping because it's addictive. I just have some health and fitness goals, and I just want to increase my discipline. I want to stop coffee and alcohol and negative self-talk and unreasonable procrastination.
Nice. Just a
That's
whole list.
great goals, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Things that everyone could adapt to, especially like being health conscious is not a trend, it's a way of life. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I want to reduce my body fat, increase my muscle and flexibility, regain my health and fitness.
yeah.
Flexibility.
Yeah, and I've got a surgery scheduled on February 29th.
All right, there we go.
Well, good luck with that.
Well, so everyone, early March, Marcus will be needing some cannabis products.
Yeah, I'm going to smoke on the spring solstice.
There we go.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, we'll sort of working our way down the line. Sheena, coming up to the next year.
Well, yeah, I love like building a vision board. So it's all year round for me in terms of setting goals. I mean, specifically professionally, I just want to see the cannabis college just go widespread. I mean, mainstream. We've had an amazing year. So I just anticipate just really growing with you guys. I love you guys. And yeah, thank you. And then I have some other things, but I don't like to disclose. But you know my name. Trust me that.
Let's go.
Trust and believe.
Here we go.
We'll look out for that. That's fun. Man, I'll be honest. I'm not completely sure. So I'm gonna go with one that's very personal. There's this book I bought last December. It's called Slouching Towards Utopia. It is a long economics history book that stares at me from my bedside every day. I want to complete it. Like, actually read the book.
How many pages is it?
It's like 6 some.
What's it called?
Yeah, like it's not like the longest book, but it's long.
What's it called again?
Slouching Towards Utopia. So I want to read this long econ book. Has nothing to do with anything we're talking about.
I love it. That's great.
Well, it's relevant to, I mean, where we live. I mean, the society. I mean, it's an important foundation, the basis. Yeah.
So Slouching Towards Utopia is my 2024. Finally, I avoided that book for so long. I've read so many books trying to avoid that book.
Why did you avoid it?
Oh, it's long and boring. And I know.
Why do you want to read a boring book?
Information. And a lot of the best information is boring as fuck.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of controversial books. You know, you read it because you want to get the perspective. I mean, learning about other people. I mean, you're able to coexist. You know, just understand different things.
And the dude, his process is really nice. Honestly, I like his methodology, but his storytelling really is like writing and storytelling stuff. He's a better economist than he's a writer, is what I learned like reading the first 100 pages first time. Hey, if you see this, you're a great economist.
Well, if he's a boring person, he's probably not watching me.
Wow. But that should be a goal, making sure that watches us.
Then people tune in here. There we go.
Yeah, John,
So you're seeing this, you're
your resolution. Let me finish the book. We'll get him to watch the podcast.
Get him watch the podcast. But honestly, another goal, like that, we could double or triple our podcast listeners. I think this is such an easy outreach to the community, such an easy way to get information out there. So tell your friends, tell their friends, just listen to us. You got the time.
How about you?
Well, so I think the cliche that people always say is, I hope to start more books this year. I want to start more books. My resolution for 2024 is to start more plants.
Hey.
You know, I love taking a seed and turning it into a little seedling. And I think for so long I've been really nervous to do that, thinking like, oh, I have such a limited growth space. Even now that it's legal, there's still not a ton of room, not so many plants you can have. But I think my goal is to really start plants and worry about figuring out where they're going to end up later. Worst case scenario, I give them to a friend.
I have a place.
And that's the thing is, it's been so amazing being able to start getting cannabis out to people this year. I think my goal for 2024 is to see how
much you can give away.
Get out.
That's amazing.
Well, starting my home will is part of one of my resolutions too.
There you go. So, Marcus, you and I are going to get together January 2nd.
Be a jumpy
Be able to start processing that list.
I have a nice
And
space.
just some advice for people who are new to setting resolutions and goals. And we talked about that before we started. There's a difference between goals and strategy. So the goal is just the idea, but like Marcus did, you have to be like really outline and micro with what you want to do in a roadmap. Smart goals, yes, and it's really just consistency. Really, it's just sticking
measurable,
yeah,
attainable, relevant and realistic.
Yeah, this is great. We can make it.
Undergrad bachelor's degree, we learned about SMART goals.
And did you ever think you'd be applying those to Canada?
Yes, of course.
All right, Josh.
How we got here. Do you ask the marketer what is data?
Your own agenda. Of course you not.
I also have to shout out a podcast that I'm starting. Another one.
Yes.
We're breaking a lot of news.
I'm actually starting tomorrow morning.
Wow. So
by the time this one comes out,
that'll be amazing.
well, at least if it, yeah.
Well, congratulations on that.
Is that the teaser?
Yeah, do you want to say any more about it?
That's why I was like, so, like, give me some.
Well, it's a 3-part format. It's called Grinding and Grounding with Mark Sargent. There's an interview show called What Is Made Saving Grace. There's a book review and author interview show called Good Students Make the Best Teachers. And there's a monologue, that's where I'm beginning, called Getting Out of My Own Way.
Hello.
Because I need to do that. I'm going to demonstrate how to do that.
Yes.
So I need a little help from my friends.
We're friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same.
Yeah, I'm excited, but daunted.
Well, something to look forward to.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Exciting
Well,
you.
Granted, dark and early in the wintertime.
Yeah, you get up at 4 and 5 a.m.
I'm enjoying the 5 a.m. tomorrow morning.
It's no reading a book, but starting a podcast is pretty cool. I
I think there's some shade in y'all about this 600-page. Read at least 21 pages a day.
Dude, that's what I say. You had me thinking. I was like, if I do a chapter a week, not even extreme, just really pace
I
myself.
think it's like 10 books a year.
I think I could get there. As I read a lot, just this book, it's becoming psychological. Sad.
Well, you have the look.
That's great, and I can't advocate against that. I can't be the teacher saying don't read. So read people, adults,
I mean,
adults only.
You have a kid for
Adult use cannabis.
Yeah, adult use. So I think we should
be
start
responsible
coming into the end of this.
necessities
Oh,
because
yeah,
of the sugary. Just that's another thing. Disclaimer.
absolutely. Well, so we should start coming into the end here because
Alright.
it's the end of the year. And guys, I just wanted to review very quickly some of the things that we've done this year. Just this year alone, we've had more than 180 online students attend our grow classes.
Wow.
We've had more than 200 students attend our in-person classes.
Yes.
We've held more than 20 absolutely free educational events and training sessions, really trying to get information out to people. We've had more than 3,000 people tune in to Northern Lights podcast. And one of the most exciting is that we've had nearly 50,000 website visits from all across the country.
Blowing up.
Yes.
For sure, people are interested in learning more about cannabis, learning more about cannabis education, and we are here to help do that for people. But we don't do that alone. But I was going back and looking over our stats from this year, and do you want to know something crazy? We were able to do everything this year with only $3,000 of community-powered donations. So only $3,000 of people saying, oh, the Cannabis College, yeah, I want to support their mission. I'll donate to them. All of that we did was just with that.
Wow.
And so I think what I want us to imagine for a minute is just what we could do if we got twice that, if we got 3 times or 5 times or 10 times that. Imagine what we could do if we had a budget of $100,000 to be going out to people and really trying to start these businesses. Like, Marcus, if I told you tomorrow, the Cannabis College has a budget now of $100,000. I want you to go out. I want you to just try to serve our mission. Like, what are some of the things that you think we could be doing with that?
I mean, I think we could find dozens of people who are interested in applying for the micro enterprise license, providing some hands-on mentorship.
Absolutely. So if people want to really be supporting the
incubation.
industry, the industry that we want to have, not just I hope we have Black entrepreneurs. I hope we have people that were harmed by the war on drugs, the entrepreneurs. I hope we have Native ownership. All of these things, they're not going to happen just with hopes and dreams and wishes. They're going to happen with actual action on the ground work. And that's really what we're trying to do here.
Imagine if Tanner had some where he could do this full time.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that we don't have full-time employees. Like, this is an entirely volunteer-led organization. We've been able to have grow classes and business consulting and everything in between, just sort of off the passions and interests of
Relationships.
There's nobody in the Minnesota cannabis space or the government who doesn't respect and admire the work that you've done as our education director voluntarily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tanner's put in at least hundreds of hours voluntarily doing it for the love, not the likes.
Yeah, and it's like thinking of all the people that have helped support our organization throughout the year. I mean, like I appreciate the compliments for sure, but like this is really a community built organization. Like we all sit before you today as sort of the board of the college, the people that are behind the scenes maybe doing some of the work, but there's so many other people that could be behind the table with us today because they help to make our mission possible. So this is sort of a call to action, if you will.
It's kind of wild that the 3,000 matches up exactly with the amount of people who are streaming, listening, and watching like this show.
It's an open.
Well, can I talk about just an event? We talked about events, but for me, my greatest moment was attending the Minnesota State Fair and having our booth on the corner and just have so many like people just come up and talk to us and wanted to learn about cannabis, seeing like generationally. I met this young lady and her mother, and they wanted to just talk about the differences in terms of the stigma that her mom had because she wanted to use it, but it was still like that, you know, that stigma. But then her daughter was like, you have pain, try it out. And we talked about that, and, you know, education. So it was just nice to see people from all ages, all demographics coming up to our booth. So thank you to everyone who came to the Minnesota State Fair, to the co-op, and to connect with us.
The Great Minnesota Get Together.
Yeah, and the State Fair, I'm so happy that you mentioned that because when we really think about where we sort of were as an organization a couple of years ago, it was outside of those gates trying to get people to vote. And this year, we were in the education building, spreading cannabis education to people. Like, it really was an incredible event. So yeah, shout out to the co-op for getting us out there, but shout out to everyone who came and visited our booth and talked to us about cannabis.
And just to kind of reiterate what Tanner was trying to say, like that $3,000 goes so far. Like everything starts with education, especially in this new industry. And we want to be the cornerstone. We want to be the ones there who can give these events. We can do live streams and make sure this industry doesn't look like the rest of Minnesota, because we know we have a problem with equity in this state. So we're trying to do everything we can to close the gap, and we need support.
I want to shout y'all out too. John and Shayna are awesome board members.
Thank you.
I love volunteering with y'all.
Oh yeah,
I've been a part of dozens of organizations, and this and Big Psych are my all-time favorites.
Yeah,
and it's largely because of y'all. You're so smart and righteous. I love y'all.
I love you too.
Yeah.
It's been
what a great organization. We have no money, and we're doing all these powerful things.
Like, just with the people around us, with the network, with Steve and the Dabbler.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
You're such a blessing to work with. You're so fun and smart, and I just love you too. Yeah.
Well, shout out to Jordan, who's normally behind. I mean, we're all looking at Steve right now. Jordan's normally behind the camera. Shout out to him. Yeah. Shout out to really all the people that
all the great people we've been able to meet this year to make this stuff happen has been honestly the best part.
So, John, you had mentioned earlier that like the number of dollars that we got this year in community powered donations was almost exactly the same as the number of listeners that we have here for Northern Lights.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like it'd be nice if it looked more like the website streams. Let's just say that. Because I feel like people see us out so much, they forget we are a nonprofit, people powered, doing our thing. So what we really need from our listeners, our supporters, and anyone who cares about cannabis in Minnesota is to donate to us. Like it's cliche, but yes, we need your donations. We need your support in that way. And I think the easiest way to do it is just directly at mncannabiscollege.org/donate. Whatever you can, like we said, right now it matches our streamers. If it's $1, if it's $5, it goes to educating people on this brand new industry and trying to do it in a way. I mean, if you like these people, like look at the people we have leading this. Like that is what your support will go to. And it will only go to making this industry look more like the people who love it. So please donate to us if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, that's mncannabiscollege.org/donate. I mean, we really don't make this ask of people often. We put out this podcast for free. We do our grow classes. We really love just getting out the information, but we do have to make the ask every so often. And think about it. It's the end of the year. Maybe you're looking for one last opportunity to write something off on your taxes. Well, we are a nonprofit. You can come and donate to us a tax write-offable donation. MN Campus College or /donate. Really help us to change 2024 into the year that we all know it could be.
Or call Tanner if you want to donate.
Yeah, call me personally at my phone number. All right.
I think we need like $1 billion budget, honestly. And we should probably start up a social enterprise store and then go for a license so we can generate some revenue for this nonprofit work.
We've got a lot of ideas, and we do them with the energy of people, but oh boy, do we also need money to do them. So we really are asking.
That's what power is. It's organized people and organized money. We already have the organized people. We had organized money. We could do wonders. So, and we're going to get there. We're going to get there. I mean, we formed this organization because we knew that once the laws change, they're going to be looking for a nonprofit partner. Who else is it besides us? I mean, we're here for you, Dean. We're here for you, OCM, when you're stood up.
We're waiting. We're letting you get ready.
Let's go.
Deed, we're gonna see what Deed's on all year for the college.
Yeah. It's gonna be a pretty big year, guys.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be so fun.
All right, should we wrap up this year?
Yes. So,
all right.
Wrap
Well,
up with some
thank
flour.
you guys so much for tuning in for our podcast, for coming to our grow classes, for being part of 2023 in Minnesota Campus College. We cordially invite you to be part of Minnesota Campus College coming into 2024. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, Reddit, LinkedIn, YouTube. Definitely go check that out if you're not watching this on YouTube.
Buy the merch.
I merge.
Check out mncambridgecollege.org/shop. Get all that stuff. Leave a comment on the show. Subscribe, like, tell a friend.
To tell a friend. You trying to steal my Tanner? That's
Oh,
my
I'm
line.
sorry.
For real.
Pass it off to Shayna for this guy.
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
There
to
we
tell
go.
a friend.
We love it. Well, happy New Year's, everyone. Happy holidays, and we'll see you all in the New Year.
Good to be here. Happy holidays.
Northern Lights is a Minnesota Campus College production. This episode was produced by me, Tanner Barris, and by my co-hosts Marcus Harkis, Shayna Payton, John Barty, and Steve Eigen. Production assistance from Clean Green Media. Video and audio recording at the Dabbler Depot by Jordan Whitworth. Thanks to Josh for coming on and reviewing this year with us. Today's episode was presented by North Star Law Group, your trusted partner in Minnesota's burgeoning legal cannabis industry. The information provided in this podcast does not, and is not intended to constitute legal advice, but is instead for general information purposes only. No listener should act solely on the basis of information provided without first seeking advice from their own legal counsel. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Minnesota Cannabis College. Please listen responsibly. Legacy Glassworks, Mr. Josh
Wilken-Simon.
Definitely encourage people to go check that out. Perfect. Awesome. Well, we'll be back here in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned and stay online.
Nice.
That was perfectly timed, Steve.
Yeah, right. I couldn't have been more